Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to WCS European Challenger. We are getting ready to move into our semifinals at long last. Only 4 players remain here. My name is Fear Dragon, and I am joined by Nathanius here at the desk.
Yeah, poor Euthermal after running into the train that was Serral in last Challenger. So much so that he wanted to even switch race mid-match today. He's thwarted by yet another Zerg, despite the fact that Serral would have been on the other side of the bracket.
And he did again ask if he could switch race mid-match again versus Snoop.
So, feels bad, man.
Feels bad, man. But I think the most feels bad, man part is that you, once again, missed out on the Terran match.
Okay.
And now both Terrans are gone.
It's okay. I'm surviving, you know?
Yeah.
I got up at 3 in the morning for this. I might have passed out during a game or two of the last match, so I'm feeling better than ever, actually.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I'm feeling fantastic. Because look at this bracket. I mean,
this
Serral, MaNa,
This is, I mean, a rematch, as we keep saying, from WCS Austin Grand Finals. I think Roddy was saying that he thinks that MaNa still probably doesn't have that great of a chance. That's what a lot of people are probably expecting, especially if you consider the way that MaNa was winning in WCS Austin Grand Finals. It was very much, I would say, it was off the back of kind of unexpected MaNa-style things that Serral adapted to. I don't know if MaNa's going to have stuff like that prepared again.
I also don't think that MaNa's going to be feeling that fire under him of being on a big stage, playing in a big tournament of a Grand Finals. I go into this assuming, I mean, when I saw this bracket, I'm like, okay, MaNa wins. Okay, so probably Serral should still have this pretty handily. MaNa played well in his match earlier versus Blanc, but honestly, it's not a comparable opponent to Serral.
Yeah.
He's the guy to beat. You know, we started today's broadcast, and just like the last time we were in this same situation, I'm like, Fear Dragon, Serral is going to win this challenger. He is. I'm sitting at the table. I have the sign. Prove me wrong.
I think a lot of people are kind of thinking that right now. But, of course, there's one guy in this game that says, no, you know what? I believe in myself. I hope that he's saying that. Because actually, I'm now suddenly flashing back to the interview from Austin right before the Grand Finals where he's like, yeah, I get like at least a minimum of 4 practice games versus Serral before he crushes me. I'm like, okay, dude.
Let's find out if he'll do better with it this time. In the top left of Acid Plant, we have MaNa. He did put up a good fight against him, but he did. It's tough. He's still the best.
Yep, this guy is very much still considered the best. Down here in the bottom right, it is the red Zerg player. NC Sports' Serral.
The best. The best. The best.
The best around.
The best.
Nothing's ever gonna bring him down.
Well, he took it into a different song direction than I was going with.
Yeah,
I was stuck in a loop, but it's okay.
I'm not actually sure which song you were singing.
Well, didn't put much gusto into it. MaNa had a good amount of strategical variety in terms of the way that he used his Stargate builds versus Bly earlier today. Don't really know how much of it Serral was paying attention to because Serral's going to probably just try to do his thing. He's not too concerned generally. He did adapt over the course of his grand final match against MaNa, so maybe he will be keeping his eye open for that Fast Twilight Council. He might say to himself, oh, well, when MaNa goes for the Fast Twilight, it's Resonating Glaives, so I will be ready for that. And when MaNa goes for Stargate, it can still be anything because, you know, he's gone for that Stargate, but also the double Stargate. And probably the biggest thing to take away from watching MaNa's games earlier is you know that he's going to Archon drop. You know that he will generally go Stargate, Oracle, Oracle, Archon drop. Like that's his thing. That's his heal.
All right, seeing a little bit of lag. Hopefully it does iron itself out. Of course, we'll pause if the players are very conditioned to pause as soon as they actually see anything. So, seems like it's probably not.
Sometimes it can be our latency. Yeah. Just so you guys know, from Los Angeles to Germany, it's about 270 ms average that we get to that server. So.
Or maybe it was our Blizzard admin carry. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. Oh, maybe not. Well, so we got our starport, of course, coming down over here from MaNa. Pretty typical opening for him. Versus someone like Bly, MaNa was able to do a lot of damage with that early adept. But this game, he does opt to go for the fast stalker. looking to try and pick off some of those overlords. The adept follow-up against someone like Serral, you don't expect to get very much damage done, but you just get some scouting information.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping to get a little bit of something, but that Oracle is coming out. Overlord speed. So Serral wants to have information. He wants information. He wants to know everything that's going on in this series. Kind of harkens back to a difference that we saw in Bly, who did not go for this, who just kind of did a little bit of scouting here and there, maybe sack an Overlord. But Serral likes information. And I think when you are Serral, like this argument gets brought up a lot with like Terrans. It's like, oh, scanning early and whatnot. And the thing is, if you are so much better, head and shoulders above everybody else, cutting a little bit of your economy early to have information so that you cannot be caught off guard, it's invaluable. There's a real serious plus to having this, because really, to beat Serral, you generally have to do something insane. And that's why no one's beaten Serral, because he sees everything.
Well, Spore Crawler is coming down a little bit late, so the Oracle is going to drain its energy trying to go after that. Oh, really nice cancel in, just building another Spore.
You're like, oh, I'll try to focus down the Spore. Maybe drones will show up. So I was like, nope, got fiends already.
Well, kills off at least one drone and gets out of there alive.
That's the opening that MaNa was looking for there.
Yeah, you get a drone kill and you're like, okay, I guess I'll take it for now. Second Oracle on the way, and Twilight Council with a Robo coming out behind this. We got the, of course, the Warp Prism coming down. It wouldn't be at all surprised to see something like a Templar Archives. Although, you know, a Warp Prism this early, this could actually just lead into something like Resonating Glaives, like kind of follow-up attack.
Yeah.
Or Gateways.
I mean, it still lines up, right? The Twilight, you can still start the Templar Archives right now, is what I expect him to do. Go for the Archon drop. We haven't seen Warp Prism with Resonating Glaive. We haven't seen like Warp Prism Adept out of him. And Serral's been leaning on Roaches in a lot of his matches. He uses Roaches pretty profusely versus both Protoss and Terran in the early game. So I think it's a bit risky to try and do something like that. Whoa, interesting. He does not go straight. Did he cue a second Warp Prism? Okay. He accidentally cued a second Warp Prism, and then he canceled it with the Observer. I was confused for a moment. I'm like, is that the Roddy Prism? Is this what he... is it happening?
Is it the 4 Archon drop? The 8 High Templar?
Real life.
Yeah. All right. Well, of course, all of this is going to get scattered out by Serral, but this is also not going to be a huge surprise. Did he... Okay, he got out the Observer. He's going to send it across the map. At the same time, the Warp Prism moves in, though. This is what I was talking about. The Warp Prism was made a lot earlier than you normally just see for the Archon drop. So Zealot harassment, I actually really like it. He doesn't take any damage on the Warp Prism either. So he loses one Zealot, but hey, does a little bit of damage, forces out units a bit earlier on than you'd normally be used to making.
I do think he was kind of preparing to get some of these units out regardless, because the Archon drop is always going to come from MaNa. What's interesting me more is kind of the way that he's dancing around with these Zealots at the moment, because he's, sorry, that's a little bit jarring for us at least, but these guys would pause if there was lag, so.
Like, trust us.
There's way too much money on the line.
They would both pause immediately.
There is nothing faster than how fast a game is paused when a pro gamer is lagging, so. Hydralisk Den is on the way for Serral, the +1 on his range, Roach speed, but that is interesting. I'm a little bit surprised to see that he kind of delayed this Archon drop part of his strategy for a while. You can still use it with the Observer and try and grab creep tumors, but he was hoping for a little more, I guess, out of that Zealot drop.
I think so, probably. Forcing on some units is early on is nice. I think you're looking to maybe catch the Zerg player right before they've made their big round of units to deal with the Archon drop. But now you can still move in with the Archon drop a little bit later on. The Hydras are going to be popping out soon, so it's maybe a little bit more limited in how much damage it can get done. In fact, it actually just retreats.
Wow. Well, the culmination of your whole strategy is grabbing 2 creep tumors. That's you're hoping for a little bit more there. But I think MaNa's also being careful. I think it's fair to say that he doesn't want to try and get too much out of this, because he respects his opponent. He understands that Serral, being who he is no one to be scoffed at. So he's gone into double robotics facility, and we talked about this in the match versus Bly, where like the immortal count was a question that came up when he was trying to deal with the Roaches. But going double immortal is always going to be strong versus Zerg ground.
With a Robo Bay, though, this is not just double immortal production. He's got a robotics bay on the way.
Maybe a disruptor. I feel disruptor is usually right. People don't build Colossus for Zerg. That's not a thing anymore, right? Is it though?
Because there are so many roaches, I was gonna say no, but you know, Hydras, they still actually burn pretty quick to these Colossus. I'm just a little bit surprised after having seen, what was that, 15? Yeah, 15 roaches out.
Yeah. Going into Colossus, well, that's a little trick In Control taught me. All I had to do was say that he wouldn't build Colossus, and now he's got them. So you guys can thank me later for giving you an interesting
He would
guess.
never go for Dark Templar with Blink.
Absolutely not.
Oh, there's the Lurkers on the way, though. So when you have Colossus versus Lurkers, it can sometimes work, but sometimes it just feels like it completely backfires.
It takes the Colossus a while to kill Lurkers is part of the problem.
Yeah.
It's also
and they're also not out of range most of the time.
They're the same range, so the Lurker does deal damage to the Colossus. However, if you have the Observer deployed and you can see the Lurker, you can step out of the max range. You can do a little do-si-do with the Lurkers because the Colossus can shoot and then step backwards. But
3-prong attack though coming in. The Lurkers, a lot of them not able to get in on top of this, and wow, Warp Prism Micro.
Warp Prism Micro, dropping those Archons like they are hot, and keeping those Colossus alive is so important. One of them does get knocked down, and the Lurkers are still there. He had to pull a good amount of his forces to the west side just because so many roaches used to counterattack. And this is just what Serral does. He's just that good. He's like, okay, my first attack. Yep, I'm ready to win the game.
Yeah, he is looking really strong. He might have lost the roaches on the left-hand side eventually, but he's going to be able to snag this third base.
Killing this base is huge because he prevented there from being a fourth. MaNa has restarted the fourth base, but at the same time, this third is going to die.
And I don't even think that the attack stops here. He continues forward because he still has so many Hydras, so many Lurkers, and MaNa just looks like he just doesn't have anything left.
And MaNa's control here has been pretty good too. Like he's microing his heart out with that Warp Prism, with those Colossi, but there is just so much from Serral. And at the end of the day, with the Hydras slowly stepping forward, the big problem becomes the fact that you can't deal with the Lurkers underneath.
Yeah, the third base attempt to retake, it gets canceled as well. So even if the Colossus somehow, and I mean they do actually do quite a bit of damage to these Hydras.
This is another Colossus.
But yeah.
Prism steps a little close to the sun there.
This micro is so good.
No, this is pretty sick micro.
Yeah.
But it's not enough.
GG, Serral just shows why he is so good. I do think that a little bit of that is a risk that MaNa took. You go for double Robo Colossus, and you were talking about your immediate gut reaction. Colossus, you don't make those versus Zerg, right? And a lot of the reason why is because until you get up a large number of them, or at least 3 or 4 of them, you look super vulnerable. And Serral came in with a massive, super scary attack that MaNa just completely wasn't prepared for.
Yeah, the benefit of Colossus is that you get like 4. I mean, in the old days when we talk about how they would work versus like a Roach Hydra, Ling Hydra composition, since they do bonus damage to Light now, they're better versus Light now than they were back in the day. But you need to have enough of them that you can just melt everything in a volley or two. Otherwise, you see that happen where they get swarmed and there's not enough of them to actually clear everything out because the units spread and suddenly they're only hitting 1 or 2 units rather than 5 or 6. They also went for the force fields, and most of the units for Serral were still able to get up. The Lurkers were still able to burrow. And the Lurkers are, like, that's
the key.
In the game of tug of war that is StarCraft, the Lurkers are the anchor, okay? And if you can't move those Lurkers, you're not moving the rest of the Zerg.
That's very true. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a short little break while we get that next series set up. Please don't go anywhere, as the rest of MaNa versus Serral is going to be coming up in just a little bit. back, ladies and gentlemen. We are moving into game number 2 after a short little break. We started our PCs. Are we though? I hope so. Oh man, I'm gonna be sad if we aren't.
Yeah, well, that would be terrible. We are loading into the game literally right now.
But anything could happen. We could have Euthermal's internet drop out, and somehow that could affect this series, even though Euthermal's not playing in this.
And it could be a long game, Ravi, but you know what? It could also be a short game. And, you know, all things considered, we could also have a medium-length game, you know?
In a world where anything is possible, I feel like one of the biggest guarantees is that we are going to have a Zerg spawning in either the top or the bottom side of the map. It looks like in this case, it is going to be that top side, the red Zerg player. It is going to be Serral.
Fear Dragon is growing, adapting, overcoming. And his opponent, who could have spawned on the top side, but in this game, he spawned in the bottom. He is the blue Protoss. He is MaNa.
I have like the Abathur voice in my head just going, meme essence acquired.
Yeah, well, you know, it's like tasteless and in control. You know, this comparison they make, it's like if you got a t-shirt box, but you didn't know what size the shirt was. So it's like, could be a small shirt, could be a large shirt. I mean, it could also be a medium. Don't really know. Then that very rare occasion, you know, the StarCraft game becomes extra large, and we get into a series like the last one that seems to span the infinite fabric of time and space. But this match, very clean first win for Serral, and he does not play around. He's not playing games. I want to know what music Serral listens to. I want to know.
Think he probably listens to like trance-ish, like
what does he jam out to while he's literally winning nonstop all year?
I am almost positive that it is some sort of form of electronic music.
Can you imagine if you were just the best player? You're like, yeah, it's June. It's like, am I still the best? Yeah, I'm still the best. I was the best in January. I was the best in June. Like, what was it? Yeah, I guess technically.
You know what the funny thing is, though, and I think this is actually important to him in being so good, is that he doesn't believe he's the best. Or like he at least tries to convince everybody else around him. Neeb did this too during his run of domination, where he would constantly tell people like, no, I'm really not that good. Please stop overhyping me.
Yeah.
Like I actually think it's, as much as we joke about how stupid that sounds when they're dominating the entire circuit.
Well, players just don't want to get in their own head, right?
Exactly. I think it's important for their own kind of mentality and being able to make sure that they don't feel like they're setting too many expectations on themselves. Like if you're expected to win every single match, there's never a match that you're allowed to lose. And that's putting a lot of pressure on yourself.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how Serral does in Valencia, because at some point you got to think maybe. And Valencia was the one that Neeb didn't grab last year. So,
but then True denied Serral.
Yeah,
that was a great series.
That was an interesting tournament. I mean, for me, that's what happened in Austin, where all of the other big players were taken out pretty early, and we were in this situation where we're like, oh, MaNa, that guy. I mean, yeah, he's good, but we haven't seen him crush it like this since WCS Krakow years ago, and that was. That was an amazing tournament in its own right, but MaNa came out as that surprise slugger who took out Neeb and Snoot and all these really big players using good variety strategy. But Serral just does not seem to care. He's not fazed by it. Serral's like, he's like, you found the craziest build in all of the world of StarCraft? Doesn't matter. I'm still fine. I'm still Gucci.
All right. Well, MaNa not going to be able to accomplish too much damage here with these initial adepts. He is keeping them alive, which is also very important. And you end up seeing him kind of canceling a lot of those shades that he's sending out.
Probe doing? Maybe a mistake.
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be a mistake, right? Because he's already getting that exact same scouting information.
Did it mine one of Serral's mineral patches at the start of the game? Sometimes that happens to me. You like mine their patch, then your worker goes back, they drop it off, and if you're not paying, it heads back to that same mineral patch.
That's actually really funny. I've never even thought about that.
Part of the official StarCraft lore, when you mine from a patch, you are married to it for life. So, unless
there's no divorcing a mineral patch.
No, your worker will always go back to the same one.
But it's only until the mineral. It's only a mineral patch's life, right? Because if that mineral patch finds out, you can think about seeing another mineral patch.
It's like how sea turtles, when they're born, they always return to the same beach where they're from. They just somehow know. They don't even have GPS. They don't even have smartphones. They just know. Just like your probe does. Isn't that beautiful, guys? Think about that the next time you play StarCraft. 2 oracles this time. trying to harass, trying to get something done. But Serral's queens, they are good.
I mean, they're in
Serral's-
position. They just.
This is a rough cast, Ravi. Serral just doesn't make mistakes. I don't know what to say. It's hard to do anything.
Is this what you're casting as based off? Is like, well, this is a mistake.
Well, no, I'm just, I'm looking for
Yeah.
tension. I'm looking for drama. And Serral's just like, he's just, you have
Kills
MaNa.
it, yeah.
MaNa's like throwing some punches, but nothing's really landing. And that's what
What's
everybody's
harder,
game.
trying to spot out the tension and the mistakes from Serral, or interviewing Serral?
God, that's both are just so difficult.
Yeah.
Not that-
I mean,
think
his
need to
play
become
is
in
super
control to
solid.
give the answer that I want to.
This is
there.
true. Well, we got a lot of roaches out, so the roaches are going to be helpful in dealing with the Archon drop follow-up. All of this is kind of par for the course. Obviously, it sucks for MaNa that he hasn't been able to get any damage done so far, but these Archons are where maybe some damage starts to happen.
He gets a queen quite low. Looks like he got a shot on a drone, doesn't get it. He took out, I think it looks like he just killed some of the larvae, which I do like. I think that's something that's not done enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't show up in resources lost or anything like that. But you know, whenever I get Hellions and someone's third and they're like, oh yeah, I just don't have any drones here. I'm like, I just focused on the larva. I'm like, that's one less unit you can build. Okay, so he had that robotics bay again. Do you think he's gonna try to go for Colossus?
He doesn't have a second Robo this time, because
Yeah.
in the last game you were talking about, he went for double Robo, he got out 2 Immortals, and then he went up to the Colossus. The Overseer comes forward, and where is that robotics bay going up? Is it going up in here?
I think it's
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
main. Yeah, it's just right there.
Okay. Well, all these Oracles are also working away at this hatchery.
See,
He's
that
actually
would be
gonna-
really cool, but not likely.
No.
Queens are all there.
Okay. At the same time, he's trying to do this
here
Archon
we
harass.
go.
Oh, that got
That's-
scary for a moment.
4 drones, that's something. You know,
Yeah.
he picks off a little bit. Serral's still got a healthy amount, but MaNa's actually done a pretty good job of getting his pro production up. There's a second robotics facility, by the way, coming in at last.
Okay, so this is going to be a little bit different in how he goes about it. So he's going to have just, I guess, 2 Immortals made from a single robotic facility.
And then
Maybe he feels a little safer.
Is he going to do it again? Will he?
You know, there's a funny thing that happens in series where you sometimes say, I'm going to try something, and even if it doesn't work, the idea is you're setting an example, and I love this. This is actually
Okay.
this builds into what I was going to say, where you set an example and you say it's going to look a lot like the exact same thing. Where now Serral's going to be thinking, are you just going for the same Colossus thing again? But because it looks the same, that's what allows him to kind of make this slight deviation and maybe catch Serral a bit off guard.
And I like that he's considering when the timing came from the last game, as he's got
Ooh.
those batteries on the way.
Wait a second,
But
we got
it's-
Mutas on
It's
the way.
Mutas. He's going into Mutalisks. There is a single Phoenix on the map. He didn't spot this, did he? He's
No.
building another Phoenix. He's getting Blink and 2 Forges.
Oh, hold on. Wait, I looked at Serral's vision for a moment. Oh no, wait, that is Serral's vision.
yeah.
Oh, he has it. I was like, wait a second.
He has the observer right there. Okay, well,
it was so blatantly spotted that I actually thought it was Serral's vision.
that observer has a lot of sight.
Yeah.
Okay, so he knows what's up, and I think that's obviously that's a huge buff to him. Serral's still control, going to be very good, and he still has enough forces to put on some pressure and be annoying. So he's got to be cautious, to say the least. But these mutas fly in, immediately loses 1, almost 2 now to the Stalker.
You know, Serral's got to be here saying like, how did you know? You're so prepared. And now he does see the disruptor. He's actually going to go after it, but shield battery is going to end up saving it. Sentry is warped.
Dude, that shield battery. That was so putting
Shut
them in
down.
between the bases like that. Really good play. And MaNa, for the first time in this series, I mean, we're only on map 2, but this actually looks really good. This is a nice spot for him to be in. It feels like he hasn't taken any crazy losses.
It is and it is. Like, it is and it isn't. It's a good spot. Like, I think MaNa's looking really good. And if he can snipe off a bunch of these mutas, this is also really nice.
But he's still building Mutalisks. As long as MaNa doesn't think like, oh, Serral's obviously going to transition. But he actually has a lot to work with. Creates a weird force field using that.
Wow.
You know, he's like, oh, I could run past this. He's like, but actually there's a 1 hex that all my units fit there. And then he only needs a single force field.
Yeah, this is actually like the extra level bait. The mutas, though, they're able to snipe off almost all the, or a bunch of the Phoenix.
Phoenix control is so important. He did build a second Stargate. There's still Mutalisks being made. MaNa, do not stop.
And +1 fire attack is now finished up.
Uh-oh, the disruptors. Man, shield batteries are
He's
amazing.
draining the shield battery, which doesn't seem like it's great, but it is actually important if he wants to engage the Phoenix.
He did kill one of the disruptors, so that anti-ground force. And that's the big fear, is as soon as these mutas get enough damage done, then it becomes a ground flood to kill him. But he's still adding more mutas. Fleet Beacon is on the way, double Phoenix production. The Stalkers are trying to blink as far back as they can. Does lose the Prism, and that is going to be huge.
And another Phoenix. Like, I know and I get what you're saying a lot here, Nate. Like, MaNa's done a great job, all things considered, holding this off. But look at all of the map control that Serral's had this entire time. He has to keep these mutas alive. These are the things keeping him alive and preventing MaNa from going across the map and doing his Protoss thing. But this is kind of scary. Serral's had a lot of time to build up.
Serral's gonna fight with everything. Man, this is disgusting. Serral is too good at this video game.
It's actually absurd. He's gonna get pushed back, but what is MaNa gonna do with this small little army now? He's lost his disruptors. He has the Immortals alive. He doesn't even have that many Phoenix, and Serral's taking the top left-hand base. He's taking the bottom right-hand base.
He's just taking. He's just
on
eating
6
the map.
bases versus 3. He's doubling
He's
MaNa's
still
base count.
building more mutas. That's so sick. And look at this. See, he finally did it. He did the thing. MaNa's like, you know what? He cannot possibly still be just building mutas. But he is. It's like you're building a disruptor and a Colossus. No! Get your Anion Pulse Crystals. Get your Phoenix count up. There's not enough roaches to deal with what he has on the ground. Like, there really isn't. But it's the Mutalisk Cat that's just continuing to snowball. He has so many, 25 Mutalisks pushing through.
I mean, this trade is actually going really well for MaNa here, as he is able to push things back. But again, he needs
His Archons can't get through that wall, by the way. They're derping.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. If he had those Archons, that would make
That's the bane of
that would make such a big difference.
More Phoenix being made. Anion Pulse Crystals being researched. Phoenix are great in this situation. I love Phoenix. Phoenix build really fast.
Okay.
But he's bled out so many of them, it makes me
He's literally bled out all of them, Nate. He doesn't have a Phoenix right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that too. Oh, Chihuahua.
Again, it's about the economy. It's about the fact that Serral he can afford at this point to take bad 8 trades.
Oh my God, that disruptor just hit a
saddest disruptor. Saddest disruptor. They just focus fires down.
There we go. There's the Big Daddy Archons. They get some really juicy shots on the mutas, but they don't finish them off.
Okay, this is the moment where we actually need to see. I was gonna say we need to see something besides mutas from Serral, but he's just making 11 more mutas.
He's going so fast. The king of Zerg, built the accidental swarm hose. Serral is on. He is going so fast. He built an accidental swarm hose. This is everything I could have ever dreamed of.
Serral is mortal too. MaNa didn't quite manage to get into a good position in this game for like this section of the later half.
Well, MaNa looked good for about 5 seconds.
He did actually look like he was in a decent spot, but man, this is a... Oh boy, this is really rough to watch. But okay,
he can
has
send his army across the map.
He has one final push.
He has the Phoenix range, as you guys can see. They shoot those purple laser beams now when they upgrade. But he gets sandwiched! How?
Oh my God, Serral split up his mutas and sandwiched the Phoenix. Are you kidding me?
This isn't even... Region lock Finland.
Poor Zhugliang is sitting there like, I'm not that good, guys. I'm not Serral levels.
This isn't fair.
I don't want to compete in a region with just Serral. I do think that, again, MaNa still has one push in him.
Oh, he's at the base. I mean, MaNa's made it across the map. Like, the question is...
He's going to lose everything in the meanwhile.
The problem is, Serral already anticipated this. Serral is 10 steps ahead. MaNa doesn't even know what game they're playing because he's taken all of the bases on the opposite corners of the map. He's building the Field of Dreams spine crawler fleet.
Yeah, okay, so here is the one thing I will say, Nate. As someone who literally base trades every single game, sometimes if you can get on the tech fast enough, you can still make these kind of base trades work.
Yeah, well, he has the resources to put whatever tech he wants
at that bottom base. He also needs a probe out, though, and that's the biggest
oh, yeah, for MaNa.
Yeah.
MaNa will just lose the base race. That's a good point.
That is, I think, the biggest concern. Because otherwise, you can utilize these Phoenix and dance around and pick off mutas. You've taken out all their tech, so they can't really reproduce things. But even the Phoenix are getting cornered now.
Calling
and of course, these Stalkers do have Blink, so they can Blink on top of a bunch of Lings that will just slaughter them.
Does he have adrenal glands on
he does have adrenal glands. And +2 melee. GG. Serral takes 2 games now.
I just
so Nate,
Serral, stop! He's already dead.
Serral makes it look unfair.
I love MaNa. He's a great player. I don't mean this as an insult to him. Serral is just that good that that game was extremely hard to watch.
I want to emphasize how ridiculously good it seemed like MaNa was holding off against the Mutalisk aggression and everything.
Yeah.
But Serral was just making all the perfect choices behind all that, and just taking the entire map, knowing that MaNa had no way of moving out while the Mutas are there, and just continuing to flood out Mutas versus a player that has like double Stargate Phoenix being produced, Archons and Blink Stalkers. Like, that seems suicidal, but Serral makes it work.
Once those Mutalisks came out, he was attacking MaNa literally nonstop. He was just like, okay, I'm hitting you at this base, I'm hitting you at the top with my Lings, I'm hitting you at the bottom of my Roaches, I'm attacking with Mutas. While doing that, while microing Mutas nonstop for the entirety of that game, he takes both bases in the corner, he spreads his creep to the center of the map, he gets his upgrades for his Zerglings, he gets up to Hive, he gets adrenal glands, he has everything.
He is macroing perfectly behind it with only one mistake, and that one mistake was a Swarm Host.
Yeah, that one mistake was a Swarm
That was the
Host.
only mistake he made that game.
We'll be issuing an official warning to Serral for building that Swarm Host, as that clearly was not an intended part of his strategy. And
Well, we get ready to move it to game number 3 now.
maybe it's a banner Swarm Host. You never
It's a
know.
banner Swarm Host.
Maybe that's what he does.
Do you think that Serral's capable of doing
Serral's
a banner
like,
Swarm Host?
You think I'm capable of making this mistake?
It was all part of my plan. It was there to do the one Swarm Host.
It was a ploy to make you
for
think
us.
I was sweating.
It was the mind game. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Hopping into game number 3. It's now match point for this guy. Ready to move on to the grand finals. He just needs one more victory. It is the Red Zerg player, Serral. The man to beat.
Yeah, his opponent putting up a fight, but man, this guy is so good. In the bottom right, he is MaNa.
I think that's what pains both of us, is that
We know
he makes
MaNa's
MaNa
good.
look bad, but
That's
he's
the problem.
really good. And
That's-
he's playing really well today.
But that's the problem with
Oh.
Serral. We had this problem in the last Challenger and in Austin, you know? We got a bunch of lovely people tuning in all around the world online. Some of them maybe newish to StarCraft, maybe don't know these players as much, and they think everyone sucks because Serral just destroys them. And I'm like, no, they're not bad. Serral's just that good. And they're like, well, how is he that much better than actually everybody else? And we're like, we don't know. That's the problem.
Serral makes the good guys look bad.
Yes. Ooh, I like that.
Ooh,
I
yeah,
like that
right?
tagline. Yeah, put that on the front of a movie box. There you go. We do the Serral documentary after he wins every WCS event until he decides to settle down and spend time with his kids instead of playing StarCraft. There you go.
Do you think Serral
A good
is...
story there.
Is Serral a villain yet? Is he our villain?
Maybe just some people. I don't know. He doesn't act very.
He's like the benevolent tyrant that like is very nice, very shy,
Yeah.
but he's actually just ruling over everyone with an iron fist.
Yeah. Thank God, like someone like Avalo isn't this good. You know what I mean? That would be truly terrifying. Serral has just put on such. I can't even say it like, oh, he's been doing so great today or this week or this month. So he's been killing
That's
it this
been a
whole
while now.
year.
It's so funny too, because I have to admit, I would get into arguments with like a Laser and all the other European Zergs last year where they were like, no, Serral is gonna be so much better than Neeb. And I'm like, okay, like I think that Serral's pretty good, but like I think you're kind of overhyping him. No, this year he's lived up to all of the hype that has been coming for about a full year now. It's pretty absurd.
I'm still on the Neeb hype train. I'm still a huge Neeb fan.
I believe.
And then Austin comes around, and I'm like, why does MaNa smack him down? That doesn't make any sense. I'm like, I guess Neeb.
Well, hey, you know, he's still qualified for GSL.
Yeah.
Finally. This is actually, you know, that was my favorite thing, is that for the longest time, No Regret would constantly say, you know, well, I qualified for GSL Code S twice, and people would be like, you know, it doesn't mean that much to me. I was like, Neeb hasn't qualified for GSL Code S. That was like always his argument.
You know, people have the misplaced feelings of righteousness and honor when it comes to StarCraft. And a
Ooh.
win is a win, is a win, is a win, Fear Dragon. But there's the Phoenix.
So, okay.
Start things off, not an Oracle.
It's not that weird. It's not that weird, but I will note that just in MaNa's games, he has opened up with Oracle first a lot of the time. And the one time that he didn't open up with Oracle first was when he went for double Stargate Phoenix production. I want to see, is he going to make the Oracle afterwards? If he does, that's totally fine. It's still very normal to go for the Oracle afterwards. It's more unusual if you don't make anything.
Scouting, if he wants to deny scouting from his opponent, I ask myself, to what end? Fear Dragon. He opens with a Phoenix because he wants to clear out some overlords.
Okay.
Does that mean that he won't go for an Archon drop? Because that's the only thing I can think of. He's trying to hide something else. Like, he's like, okay, maybe I'm just going to go for a Robo and do something different. I don't know what that different thing is, but yeah. Or he just wants to scout faster and have the scout be a little more durable than the Oracle.
Yeah, just gets up the Oracle a good bit later on, but the Phoenix taking a lot of damage. This might not seem like a big deal, but one of the other big advantages of the Phoenix is that if you find a base that just has one queen or in a Spore Caller or something defending, you can lift up that queen with the Phoenix and the Oracle can still go ham on the mineral line a bit.
Yep.
But that's not really an option anymore when you lose that many hit points on the Phoenix.
It is not. Well, it seems I was wrong. He just wanted to clear out the early Overlord with that Phoenix because he's got the Warp Prism and there's
and just get up a slightly faster Robo. Yeah, he just gets up a slightly faster Robo. This actually, I wonder if this is what he was doing in game one. That a lot. No, game one looked different. Where I think I was trying to think about how he went for the 4 Zealot drop in game one, because he got the Warp Prism a lot earlier than I think you normally would, but. Is he still? Maybe he still does.
I mean, he can still just get. By the time he gets to the other side of the map, the Templar Archives will be done.
Yeah.
So he can just warp in on location.
Okay, well, third base comes up. He gets up charge. He's sitting on just 40 workers. Ling is going to make its way into the main base somehow.
Oh my God. Well,
sees everything.
If you're Serral, you're not really surprised because he's been Archon dropping you every game.
He's still not making workers.
But when the Oracle has to come back to zap that Zergling, that's not what you want to have happen. He's starting to put out a bunch of roaches because he knows that Archon drop is about to hit.
Nate, I'm not going crazy, right? You normally are still making workers at this time, right? Okay.
If you're who?
If you're MaNa.
Yeah. Well, 2-base saturation is going to be closer to like 48 workers.
Yeah. Even with a lot of all-ins, you're usually going up to 48. He makes one more. He's adding on a bunch more gateways, and I think that third might be a bit of a fake out.
He might just be waiting to just crank out a ton of zealots.
Hold on. Okay, he's still mining gas, so he's still intending to make a bunch of gas units alongside these charge lots.
He has might a lot of warp in another Archon or two and then spam the rest out on zealots and just try to make a gnarly push on the third. Like he might not be in one of those I don't need gas builds.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I don't know that Serral has actually seen the lack of saturation just yet. He's going to see it just recently completed third, but he's also seeing like the first pylon finishing up over there, so it might just be that the transfer is still coming. I'm really wondering, when is Serral going to realize what's going on? Because he's up to 65 workers.
Yeah, well,
now pro production
pulls back a little bit. Like, he doesn't actually commit to this, so the Archons were warped in at home. There we go. Now they're moving out. The Zergling immediately sees them.
Okay. He sees that there is a decent-sized force, but it's about the Warp Prism also still warping in some more units. Actually, I wonder if Serral thought that those 2 Archons were the original Archons of the drop, whereas really they were actually still in the Warp Prism.
Ooh, there's maybe something to that, but look at this. 7 Ravagers, tons of roaches coming out. He's going to try to hit on both sides.
Yep.
Let's see what he can get done. There's a lot of Ravagers. He's like, okay, you know what? Never mind, not going over there.
Okay, well, he's going to be able to snipe off the 4th base, and MaNa has been making workers behind this, so...
He started the worker production again. I think what you do is you maybe try to snipe this and then fight with the Zealots and recall the
Archons? Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking, but he can just run out of here
road
off of
speed
creep.
isn't done yet either. Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Road speed about to finish up, so it's a little bit risky,
What's
but...
in the main? Something just died. Is that an Overlord?
Yeah, there's an Overseer.
Okay, so he's come through and seen everything. Nothing's really changed. Welcome back.
The big thing to see would be the lack of saturation at the third, but I think that he's going to be moving in anyways at this point. He has a lot of roaches, and this is where things maybe get a little scary for MaNa.
has so much gas. He could warp in when this pylon.
He could open a burrito shop. Sorry.
Jeez, Ravi.
All right. Well, we got the Zealots charging on forward, and they're going to actually be able to pick off a lot of these Ravagers because they're sitting at the front. The Roaches on the right-hand side also getting taken care of by some Zealots that are warped in. And MaNa, he's got to be careful with the Archons. Those are the value units here. I would love it if he'd been building some shield battery or two behind this, but...
Well, to my point, I was going to say he could just build like 4 or 5 Archons now. He has so much gas. There we go. Okay, he is adding a bunch more Archons because with this gas at this stage, he doesn't have a forge or Robo Bay. Like nothing else he can really do with it.
Archons do okay versus Roaches. You really want some other buffer though. You need the Zealots or something to tank.
Yeah, cheap units to buffer because those Archons are expensive.
I guess if you have a Warp Prism, it's okay.
Good Prism micro. I mean, with this many Archons, if they can all shoot at the Roaches, Archons do devastating amounts of damage. I think by default it's like 37, 35 versus biological.
Oh my god, I
might be
actually
more.
I actually
They'll do
think it's a
one-shot
bit more.
drones. I don't even know. They're insane. Archons have really good damage. The range is their weakness.
I think they can get up to something crazy like 45 damage or something.
Yeah, I
like
think
that.
at level 3 they're at like 48.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty nuts. We do have a War Prism moving along the left-hand side. While he also finds a lot of these roaches over in the right-hand side of the map, this might also pull some of the Hydras out of position. I think the Overlord did scout out that War Prism, though, so the Hydra's already on their way to the main.
Well, I mean, this pulls off a good amount of forces. He's going to need everything, I feel like, to deal with a big push of Archons with these roaches and these Hydras. Dealing well with the Zealots. They're going to clean that up. Here's the other Prism now picking up and
this is too big of a force, though.
This many Archons looks awesome, but it ain't enough to kill Serral. GG, Serral takes it.
3-0.
Yep.
Moves on to the